Hello, welcome to The Laughter Effect, the podcast in which we investigate and celebrate the relationship with comedy and laughter of a very special guest. And today we have Mr. Tim Lovejoy. Good morning, Tim.
Morning, how are you?
I'm very good, very good. How are you? Well, that's the first double-headed question. It's the first one we always ask, and it's an easy one. How are you and where are you?
I'm at my house in London and
Landon.
I'm all right. I'm about to go and give blood.
Are you
So,
really?
yeah, I give blood all the time. Not that I want to come across as a hero, even though well, I'd quite like a bit of praise. No, giving blood. Actually, I should do my little spiel on giving blood. You know what happened
Go.
is they approached me and said, "Will you be like an ambassador for giving blood?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Yes, I will," but they never got round to doing it, and that was a paid job. And we kept missing that. Like I was too busy and stuff like that. So one day I just went, "I'm just going to go and do it anyway," because I remember my dad used to do it, and I went there and I started giving blood, and I'm up to now about my. So I never was the ambassador,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm up to my 30th time now. Well, I think I'm 29 today. And I must say, it's one of those things that if you don't give blood and you can give blood, you should give blood because it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
hurt. And it's like, it's good for both things. It's good for the patient or the person who needs the blood, but it's also really good for yourself because what you do is you get this text through about 2 or 3 days later saying, "Thank you, they've used your blood in Coventry," or "Thank you, we've used your blood in Sunset." And you think, wow, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
You just feel great about it, you know what I mean? So it's like one of those things, if you wanna feel good about yourself, go and give blood.
And if you want a penguin,
Exactly. Well, I always
come
go
on.
for the mini cheddars. I quite like the
Oh,
mini.
yeah. Oh, yeah, the
Yeah, but,
savoury option.
it doesn't hurt, by the way, if you're thinking about it. Apart from the tiny pinprick of the needle, which lasts under a second of pain,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't hurt. So there you go. I'm doing
Yeah.
their
This
ambassador, and I never got paid for the job. I'm doing it for free. I really am gonna go to heaven.
will make sure that this is sent to them, so it might remind them and say, "Oh, we need to send Tim Lovejoy a check." Indeed. Anyway, it's the first time and possibly the last time we've started off a podcast with an advert for the British Blood Foundation or whatever they're called, but why not? Why
Exactly.
not? Something altruistic. Something altruistic. Where do we go from there? Where on earth do we go from there? Well, let's go right back to the beginning because that's where we usually start. So, your relationship with comedy and laughter. So, in the Lovejoy household, where did it all start? Who made you laugh on the TV, and who made you laugh around the dinner table?
Um, well, I suppose TV, growing up in the, sort of 70s and 80s. So the 70s is very much Morecambe Wise, Eric
Yeah, yeah,
Morecambe. He's the king, and then Tommy Cooper. And I realized when I was thinking about doing this, I realized what I'm big on is physical comedy, and I didn't realize that. But it's the looks, it's the way that Eric Morecambe looks at you, and all those type of things. That's what really makes me laugh. So yeah, so it was all the sort of normal 70s stuff, a bit of Carry On thrown
yeah.
in there, and all those sorts of
But
things.
is it that breaking the fourth wall bit with Tommy Cooper and Eric Morecambe? Because some of the funniest things I remember were the looks to camera.
Yeah.
And that they were the stuff, Tommy Cooper when somebody called, the looks to camera, breaking the fourth wall or whatever you call it. I think they were the things that spring to mind with Morecambe and Wise for me.
100%.
Yeah.
I was, but these days, what's so amazing is because of Instagram and TikTok, you can actually get yourself going down a sort of like a little rabbit hole.
Yeah, you can.
And the other day, for some reason, on TikTok, Freddie Starr came up. And I'm not sure, I can't really remember whether Freddie Starr's one of those people we're allowed to like anymore or not. But
I think we are, yeah. He
I think
hasn't been there's been a
he's
few rumors, the usual sort of thing, but, yeah.
but my goodness, Jesus Christ, that guy's physical comedy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's the fact that he's looking at the camera, looking at he does loads of these audience with, and
Yeah.
you does see him looking at the camera, and there's just some absolutely classic lines. He gets a woman on stage, he starts flirting with her. It's just these classic things, and he says, "Say some more to me in French," he's doing some French and says, "Say something to me in French." He goes, "I can't speak French." He goes, "Well, nor can I." Absolutely everything he does, and I'm like, wow, that talent they had. And I had
Yeah,
this on my show the other day, and we were discussing it, the hours of rehearsals they used to do, and training to
yeah.
get on TV. Whereas chances like me, chip up, we haven't got any talent. We just chip up, and those guys put so much work into
I
actually
you
legend.
you talk about putting a lot of work into sketches and stuff like that. My Kennedy moment Freddie Starr sketch was do you remember the Demis Roussos one?
Yeah, yeah,
Where he
yeah,
had the huge sort of like caftan, and then he sort of started singing, and he walks off, and there's a bloke with the sort of
yeah.
the nut clenchers
Nutcrackers, yeah, yeah.
underneath, which was I thought that was genius. I mean, again, visual, but everybody in the house, everybody got that. And that's sort of a point. And we usually end up talking about this in an episode. That appointment to view, where you all sat down as a family to watch something. It
Yeah.
was really really special. I'm not saying it doesn't happen anymore, but it's not as ingrained within
No,
our sort of everyday culture as it was.
it's more of a family thing. Like, I sit down and make my not make, but with my daughters, we sat down and watch comedies, but they're usually sort of on Netflix or catch up, and we
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
series together like that. And it becomes more of a family thing rather than a countrywide thing. We're not all tuned in. Every now and then you'll get something where the whole country seems captivated by a comedy series,
yeah,
but often it's you sit on your own. It's really interesting you're talking about that, the evolution of TV and the language, because when we arrive at the 90s, where I start getting involved in telly,
mm,
I worked in this environment where we were told we need to. Mary Whitehouse had just sort of recently retired and stopped. Do you remember her, Mary Whitehouse? She was the one
of
who lost.
course. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
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 and so she had recently retired, and we were starting to get this influx of TV coming over from America and also Europe, especially Eurotrash and things like that. And and there was like what's Jerry Spring or something, and we started realizing that, hold on, we're quite closed as a nation on TV, and so
yeah,
there seemed to be this massive urge to open up the boundaries, and it just, I mean, it exploded. Everything I worked on, I was at Planet 24 working on The Big Breakfast. We had the Word sitting next door to us and all that, and the constant chat was let's push the boundaries back as far as we possibly can. And it probably went too far as we look now at back historically at it with different lenses, going, "Oh my god, I can't believe what they did in the 90s." But interestingly, at the time, it was like, we've got to push back now, because we the sense that now, bizarrely, it's all come back in because we work in TV now, and because of Ofcom and everything, it's like you're not allowed to say anything anymore. Everyone's terrified,
yeah,
well, it's not, no, you're not allowed to say anything anymore. Everyone's a little bit more worried about what people are saying and everything else. So it's really funny, this like boundary thing, which it's sort of like concertinas backwards and forwards. Are you allowed to swear on TV? Are you not allowed to swear on
yeah,
TV?
yeah, yeah,
The watershed happening, the pink triangles happening, all those sort of things happened back in the sort of 90s, and it became quite an exciting time. But interestingly, the swearing in not sitcoms, but comedy shows was a real wow
yeah,
moment, British
yeah.
TV.
No, absolutely. We often talk about that, like people like Kenny Everett. So I think people were doing it for a long time, round the horn, like old radio shows in the '60s, where they would come out with things that the establishment, the BBC, the board of directors, just it went completely over their heads. And
Yeah,
it got to a point where they actually realised, the likes of Mary Whitehouse, they were sort of tapping these people on the shoulder and saying, you shouldn't be allowing that to go out. And Kenny Everett, which is why Kenny Everett started, people like him started to get sacked. But you're right, and I think what happened in the '90s, it was just a reaction to the effect that the people like Whitehouse had had, and it was just that it went so far the other way, and obviously it came back in. But yeah, you're right. What's happened now is very very strange. There's almost a slightly puritanical um, atmosphere. But again, it's changing, because some of the things like Benny Hill, we all remember when Benny Hill became, you weren't allowed to like Benny Hill. He was virtually cancelled in the '90s, I think. And now you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, every other reel is Benny Hill, and there are millions and millions of likes.
That's your algorithm, James, not
Yeah, yeah,
ours.
yeah. But there are a lot. But then, but if you watch it, the interesting thing is if you watch it, the amount of stuff that is the stuff that was deemed sexist, I don't see it. It's saucy comedy slapping little bald blokes like me on the head. I'm not sure it was really there in the first place, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's beyond. I actually work in the industry, so it's like we're always trying to work out where the boundaries are constantly. It's like, so I think people do it for a good reason, though. That's the thing. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone out there is particularly evil when it comes to these things.
No, no.
They're just trying to
There's
work.
no malice aforethought. None at all.
People are always trying to work out where they should be going and what should we be doing. I mean, it'd be horrific if you tuned in Sunday Brunch every morning and everyone was swearing, wouldn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
no one, who would want to watch that? It's like,
No.
and so when there is a swear word on Sunday Brunch, it's funny and
Yeah.
it's shocking and it's
Yeah.
like, but I don't know. It's just better that way. But better that we have some sort of standards, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you're right.
And
So in
also on the something like Sunday Brunch, we have 3 hours. The world's pretty bleak at the moment, I think, and well, we feel bleak. Whether it is or not is another thing. But everyone feels pretty bleak at the moment until all these wars going on and everything else. And I want 3 hours of pure entertainment. And so
yeah.
what we try and do is discourage people for doing political comments and stuff on
Yeah.
the show and things like because we just
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
have fun. I want people to
Exactly.
laugh and tune in and go, oh, I can have some release. There's plenty of stuff going on the other channels for politics on ITV and BBC. We don't need to have it on our show as well.
No, no, absolutely. I did a couple of books with Gunter Steiner, who was on your show a couple of years ago, and he doesn't usually do those sorts of things. The most 90% of the stuff he gets invited onto, obviously motorsport related. But he said that the atmosphere on Sunday Brunch was excellent. It was very very laid back, and it was fun. And he's a bit of a food snob, so he said the food was excellent. So
Well, the
well
first
done.
night working in TV, if you want to know behind the scenes thing, there's a lot of officious people with clipboards shouting and screaming at each other. And
Right.
I sort of always realized that I'm doing no good for the world. I'm not even giving blood. I'm not doing anything. Just trying to have a good time and
Yeah,
entertain
yeah.
me. Hopefully trying to make the comedians funny, everything else, and give them the
Was
opportunity to be funny.
was
And
that the idea behind soccer? Sorry to interrupt, but was that the idea behind Soccer AM when that first started? Which
I'd
was
come
Tiz was for me,
Yeah,
basically.
I'd come from, Planet 24 working on The Big Breakfast, and it was really quite a pressurized environment. It was very much like all the tabloids and, at the time and radio and TV. It was all very much, aggressive and, I don't know, people were shouting a lot and that it was stressful. And I came to Soccer M and went, "Do you know what? Why don't we just have fun?" And I think that's what the viewers saw. We were a bit
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
our depth. I was a bit out of my depth. I got this group of people. I mean, I knew how to make TV, but I'd only been in the TV industry for 2 years. And I got a job as producer presenter on Soccer M. So we just sort of made it up as we went along. And that's the thing about TV. It's obviously it's the home of a lot of very intelligent, privately educated people, went to the big universities and everything else. But the reality of TV is all you need is ideas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what we
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
we did, and so when they allowed people like me in because there was suddenly more channels and because I just went to the state school in Chorleywood, which was great, I was allowed in. People like me were like, "Oh god, I'm a bit nervous." Everyone's talking about their schools. And then after a while, it was like, you realize it's just ideas. That's the
Yeah.
all it is ideas, and
But the
everyone
atmosphere But the atmosphere on Soccer AM, back to just talking about Kenny Everett, his original show that he made in a studio with no audience, written by him, Barry Cryer, and Ray Cameron, Michael McIntyre's dad, and all the laughter. And basically, they'd go and write a few gags on the back of a fag packet and just have a go. But the laughter was real. And it was the cast. And Soccer AM to me was, obviously, I'm not saying that you just went in, there was no thought behind it, but a lot of it seemed very spontaneous. And obviously the laughter was real. It was all of you laughing. It was the cast, so the cast, it was the crew, and it had a very, very similar feel. And there was nothing else like it on television at the time.
Do you know, we went off and did a podcast, and four of us, we went and did this podcast with the Mail Online. Then we moved there, and it hasn't quite worked out. We're still sort of keeping it going in our minds, but it's dead basically. Yeah, we did a full podcast and we were having so much fun with it that we've ended up on this little group. And every now and then, this morning, I posted an idea that I've got for Soccer AM. None of us are anywhere near Soccer AM anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. But this morning I said, what we need is we need a character like Trigger of Only Fools or Woody of Cheers, who's a
Yeah.
bit stupid, but also really says really smart things to explain football. We need to explain why Villa put out a weakened team because they're playing Forest in Europe, and everyone thinks that's absolutely disgusting. That poor old West Ham, poor old West Ham here, and they put out a weakened team, and Spurs went and won that easily. Villa were at home. It's terrible. Then we have to explain to the guy that Nottingham Forest also put out a weakened team because they're playing on Thursday, but beat Chelsea 3-1 away from home. It's like trying to explain VAR to somebody. See this. I see it's really comic value, the trigger and
Yeah.
the Woody
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there thinking, oh no, I don't have that vehicle anymore to do that with, and it really frustrates me that it's the other guys. They're always writing. We're always writing sketches with each other still, and we've got nowhere to do it. It's so frustrating.
That's because one of the things before I'm going to have to take you all the way back to the 70s again because I want to know who was making you laugh in the house. But I could never understand why the old crew, the original crew, were never brought back together because that's ultimately no disrespect to what happened afterwards. Because for the rest of its time on television, everybody was hoping and praying that it would come back to the beginning. It would be yourself, Helen Chamberlain, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, I'm us guy, but it's tough, isn't it, to bring everyone back? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of course it is.
I think
Yeah,
there was a stage where I was going to approach them and say, "Let's do it at night," but everything had changed.
yeah,
All the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
things had changed. Everything
yeah,
had Sky had completely changed. So the idea that anyone would understand what it was, I think the saddest thing is they got rid of the brand. It was such a
yeah,
successful brand. Even after I left, the success of it just went on and on and
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Bizarre.
such a shame, but yeah.
Indeed, indeed. So let's go back to the Lovejoy household. So Morecambe Wise, Tommy Cooper, Freddie Starr making you laugh on TV. Who was making you laugh around the dinner table? What was the sense of humour like within your family?
I don't know. I think everyone had a good sense of humor. Everyone had a laugh. My brother was very droll. He would say quite dark things, and he was quite funny. My brother, I had an older brother, sadly died, but he
Oh,
was the one who introduced me to. He was a couple of years older than me, and he introduced me to a lot of music,
yeah,
which was good. He also introduced me to a lot of comedy, so he really got into the alternative comedy scene. So he used to actually go in. He was a bit older, so he could go and see them. That 2 years makes such a difference when you're a
yeah,
kid.
yeah. Of course.
He was old enough to go and I wasn't, so he used to go and, he got me into the alternative comedy scene, so that thanks to him was why we watched The Young Ones, and we got the first episode because he was in the scene and knew it was happening, and because those days there's no, not even a bloody video recorder, was there, back then? So you had to actually watch it, and it was one of those things that, if you went to school the next day and you hadn't watched The Young Ones, whoa,
Yeah,
you
yeah. You're a weirdo.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know how you're gonna survive because 'cause you're gonna be just trying to work out what this thing was.
yeah,
We were used to Terry and June, and we got The Young Ones. It was the most amazing sitcom, and people can believe it, and especially when there was sort of like madness on it and stuff like that, or bands we
yeah,
loved. So yeah, it was cool. So my brother, I suppose, really, him and his mates, they used to all come round and we used to have a laugh. It's typical with young people. It was very Mickey taking and sarcastic and having
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot joke at each other's expense.
Do you remember the first comedy gig you went to?
Hmm.
Was there
No.
any comedy clubs around where you were?
Yeah, they did the rounds. There was local pubs used to put on comedy nights, and it would be people like Bradley Walsh, and it was out in the Watford area, out in Hertfordshire way. So they used to have what's his name, Joe Pasquale, and
Really?
do you know what though? I've got to tell you, those guys are amazing.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
absolutely amazing. When you stick them on telly, I'm telling you this, you know, your listeners need to know, or your viewers need to know, is those old school, when they go
Yeah,
on TV, they know exactly how to construct a conversation, a joke. They are absolutely brilliant because 'cause they've been doing it for so many years.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes they have a fast track comedians, they come on our show, and, no fault of theirs, by the way, you can tell
yeah,
they've got talent, but they haven't done because these days, I said earlier, including myself in it, you can just throw someone like me on TV without any training, and,
yeah,
I train on the job. Years ago, you had to do years of blue coats, going around to crap pubs like the one we were in, and actually having to perform for people, and those guys, they're the old school. When they come on the show, I can absolutely 100% rely on them telling good stories and making me laugh and entertaining everybody on the show, and
yeah,
because setup of Sunday Brunch, through the pandemic, you had a situation where, they couldn't come up and cook with us anymore. So we ended up it was by accident, but I've got a great producer who works on the show, Patrick, Ruddy Paddy, who 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 sees the benefit of TV being live. And suddenly, we had all these people sitting around the table, and it changed the show dramatically. You never get a show where people are actually sitting for 3 hours on the whole show all around the table. 'Cause we used to get them to go off to the green room, come back, like that, and me and Paddy always chat about this, and it's really interesting because what you do is you give the comedians the opportunity to entertain the others,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you get comedy value throughout the whole show, especially when you get a comic on. But obviously, the older they are, the more trained they are. You know, like Giles Brandreth comes on. He's
yeah,
so trained from his after dinner speaking, his years as a politician, everything else. The guy just captivates the whole room. And I know when Giles is on, I take a step back and let Giles entertain. Giles is better than me at doing it, so I let Giles be the entertainer in the room. Sometimes, though, we get a newer comic on. They haven't done the 9 yards, and they haven't done it all the training, and it's up to me to try and do the entertaining because what I try and do is I keep trying to tee them up to let them have some material, to give them some material to work
yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah.
It's a brilliant game you play when you're a host of a show like mine.
Has Giles ever spoken to you about his history in the comedy industry? Because he has quite a he's written a fair few sitcoms. He wrote Kenneth Williams' first book, Acid Drops. He's a polymath anyway. He can do anything, Giles Brandreth. He really, really can. But yeah, he was he. Do you remember Hinge and Bracket?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote. They had a sitcom called Dear Ladies that ran in the early '80s for about 3 series, written by Giles. He can do
Wow.
anything.
I
Yeah,
didn't know he was a ridiculously talented man.
yeah, yeah.
Just so talented, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But so you've been working with Simon now, what, 20 years?
It's gotta be 20 years, yeah.
20 years. So how many, so the amount of people, you said you had Les Dennis on your show last week. I mean, Les Dennis again was somebody who was huge. He was like Russ Abbott thing. He was massive. But there is a reverence for people like Les Dennis. There is a respect for people who come from that era, which is nice. But as you said, Roy Walker. I think there was a radio show on a few years ago. I can't remember what it was, but it had the new comics versus the old comics. Do you remember it? I can't
No.
remember what it was called. I've got to find out. But it was basically the old guard versus the new guard, and they would have to out joke each other, which was fantastic. But I remember the old guard would almost always win.
Yeah, it's a different app though, isn't it? So
Yeah, of course it
so,
is.
on one hand, you've got Giles Brandreth, you've got Bradley Walsh. There's no secret to why Bradley Walsh gets every single TV show because that
Yeah,
guy's so well trained. It's
yeah,
like yeah, whether you like him or not, the guy delivers
yeah,
every single time. He's funny, he's charismatic. You can give him your show and go, here you go. And we know the viewers like him. But you've got that, and then you've got coming on my show. A lot. One of the most ever is someone like Bob Mortimer, absolute total genius. What a just complete different style of comedy. Like so left field, and yet everyone loves him
yeah, yeah.
because
He's a proper national treasure, a genuine national treasure.
he's just got funny in a different way.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
funnier in a different way. Yeah.
yeah.
So he's and I don't know where we're going to get to on talking about comedy, but Shooting Stars is one of the greatest shows there's ever been, in my opinion. I can't believe that they don't just every every year, just go, let's commission that again. It's
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and one of the greatest things that ever has happened in my TV career is, well, I actually said on I can't remember whether it was Sunday Brunch or something for the weekend, but I said to Vic and Bob when they were on, if I ever end up on Shooting Stars, I can then retire. They actually put me on Shooting Stars, which was absolutely brilliant. I loved it so much. Uh, Tim, true or false, no man has ever enjoyed a family holiday.
I post a lot of their stuff, and the thing that I always go back to, I post it at least once every 6 months, is the David and Donald Stott chitter chatter chit thing where they interview Sting.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
just absolute gold. But it's very very strange. A lot of people over the years have compared them to Morecambe and Wise and this, that, and the other. No, they're Vic and Bob. They've got their own style of humour. Their Slade skit at home with Slade, I thought was just absolute genius.
they're just
Brilliant.
surreal, and they were
Yeah,
allowed to, I mean, you talk about Morecambe Wise, though. Vic used to do looks to camera, so did
yeah,
Bob. It
that's
was like
true. Yeah, yeah,
they did that style of, thing. You've always got to say though, and I've talked to John Lloyd, the
yeah,
producer,
yeah. Oh,
this
John. Yeah,
who did Blackadder and everything. But you've got to, you've got to hand it to the commissioning editors. Like when someone like Vic and Bob comes along, I know they were very successful in a club in London and all that sort of stuff, and people were going and they were there. But someone's got to give Ben out on the and say, look, go and write the young ones, and it's quite a brave thing to do. And I wonder if there are as many brave commissions as there used to be. Who commissioned Monty Python, whoever that
yeah,
is.
yeah,
He's as important
yeah,
as the cast of Monty Python, the guy who
yeah,
said, let's do this,
yeah,
because no one understands it, but let's do
yeah.
it and see if it works. Whoever commissioned the Far Show, absolute legend.
You used to have back in the day. We were talking about this the other day. You used to have a head of comedy at the BBC. I'm not sure if you still do, and it was one person. And back in the day, it was, I think, John Howard Davis was the guy who was. I think he had. I'm not sure about Python, but he was certainly The Good Life and all the bits and pieces. And what they would do is, because they weren't monitoring every audience. So after a couple of episodes, they'll say, no, this isn't working. Let's shove it. They'd run it for a series. And even if it didn't go as well as they hoped, if they had faith behind it, if they thought no, they'd give it another go. So it was a little bit more emotional
Yeah,
as to whether you commissioned something. And that obviously doesn't happen anymore because everything's about the bottom line. So it's a shame. But yeah, whoever discovered Vic and Bob wants knighting. But I think with their stuff as well, it's so effortless. They never looked like they were trying, if you know what I mean. It seemed to be coming from there, and it was just happening. It was all, it was obviously a lot of it was scripted, but it was all so natural. And I love the way they've matured as well. Vic or Jim's gone off and he does his art, and Bob's become probably the biggest name in comedy in this country at the moment, and he's writing brilliant books. And it's nice how they matured.
just to let you behind the scenes of being on their show is they create an atmosphere. And it's like an atmosphere that I've never been on in a TV show. And I always say there's more to a TV show than just, you've got to look. It's got to look right. You've got to look
Yeah,
around the get to make sure
yeah,
it
yeah,
looks. You've got to create this atmosphere.
yeah,
And for me, it's 52 weeks of a year. We're trying to create an atmosphere. It's sort of it took a while to bed in, and now it's like people want to come on because they understand it. And then the Americans come and have literally no idea what's going on. Before Vic and Bob come on, you're all sitting there as guests, and they play that famous. I know nothing about classical music, love it, but know nothing about it. It's the Flight of something. The
Flight of the
famous.
Bumblebee.
No, it's the.
Not. Oh, it's the Flight of the Valkyries. Da,
That's
da,
it.
da, 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 da. Yeah,
That they played, and they play it really loud, and the
yeah,
crowd going and everything. And then Vic and Bob come in, and you're there. You're already
yeah,
up there, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
God, Vic and Bob are here. And then it's just funny after funny. And the way you play it is just no, don't try and out comedy Vic and Bob, and it's
yeah,
funny. Or,
yeah,
if
yeah,
anyone tries to go up against them, it's boring. You just
yeah.
let them let them do this.
But we can't forget Matt Lucas, because one of my favourite episodes was Curtis Stigers. You must remember this one. Curtis Stigers was a guest, and he came on and did his song, and he did Peanuts. Remember Peanuts? Da, da, da,
Yeah,
Peanuts,
I
which is
I watch it every now and then. He's wearing that green tracksuit,
yeah,
and there's
yeah,
the character on Soccer AM. When I did it, it's called Barry Proudfoot,
yeah,
and Barry Proudfoot he wears a green tracksuit. Everything
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember.
And Gary Proudfoot, sorry, Barry Proudfoot wore a green tracksuit and shoes
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of one
It was a
song.
homage to, and that
Totally.
and that was a peanut seller. The backstory was he was a peanut seller at Arsenal who used to go around at Highbury saying peanuts,
So
peanuts.
he's got it from there. I've got it. I've put it on my show.
There you go.
Every time we used to get characters out of the lockers, we used to call it, out of the doors behind the scenes to do jokes. And every time we had sailors, which every now and then we had sailors, they always had to have a bucket on their foot because it's a homage to Morecambe Wise, their Christmas
That's
or in
fantastic.
whatever it was, where they all had buckets on their foot and they did the dance. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and people used to go, "Why have they got buckets on their foot?" And I used to say, "Oh, there's no reason." But it was always 'cause of,
Oh,
Morecambe One.
that's wonderful. That's absolutely fun. That's what a great. Oh, that's. I remember talking to you. You mentioned John Lloyd. I remember talking to him about Spitting Image years ago, because I was working on a book about Ernie Wise, and I said, "Why did you never do Morecambe and Wise on Spitting Image?" I said, "You never did Morecambe and Wise," and he said somebody once suggested it in a production meeting, and there was silence. No,
Right.
and he was just like, "You can't do it." It was they did the Queen, they did everybody, but Morecambe and Wise were off limits, which I think
Right,
is quite
okay.
sweet.
Yeah, it
Yeah, yeah.
should yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I had no idea about the homage to Morecambe and Wise in Soccer AM.
There was a
Absolutely
homage.
fantastic.
I homaged every I used to do magic tricks,
I
and
homaged everything.
that was a homage to Tommy Cooper. I used to just go around doing magic tricks and stuff. So, it's like, everything was based on all the comedy that I'd watched. So I we started writing our own in the end. We started by just imitating lots of people, and then eventually, we started writing our own stuff. We used to have these intense writing meetings, which I miss so much, where
Yeah,
we're all sitting there going, "Anyone got any ideas?" We did 40 something shows a year, and we had to think of all these jokes, and
yeah.
we were really struggling. And there's one joke that we never did, which we used to come up with all the time and go, "We're gonna do that joke," and everyone go, "No." And I can't say it 'cause it's got really bad words in it, but there's this one joke that we've always had that
We can
that we
always edit it out. We can always edit the word out.
Well, I can sort of say it. The base of the joke. Well, we did a lot of like we we did we did a lot of like innuendo jokes in it because we were trying to get away with stuff. But there was the one joke which is I would go to one of the guys. "Oh, didn't you know I'm a country member?" And they go, "We do remember." And um and that's the joke that I always said, "Can we get away with it? Will I be able to get away with that?" I never did it because I was always thought, if I get called up on that one, that's
Funnily enough, ironically, Kenny Everett, that was his second sacking. The second time he got sacked was for making that joke live on air.
he made that joke.
Yep, he did. Yep. I'm a country member. Yes, I remember. He got sacked, I swear to you, I think from Capital Radio for making that joke.
Do you know, we thought we'd invented that joke.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
I did not know that joke existed. Do you know what? I bet you I'd heard or read that.
Yeah, yeah.
Then
Subliminal. Yeah,
and then I'd thought me or the guys or whatever, I thought we'd invented it,
yeah.
we hadn't. That's how it works. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I have a Kennedy moment from Soccer AM, and I watched it from until after you went. I watched it from the very beginning, but there was one. You probably couldn't do it now. Helen Chamberlain was. I think they'd filmed her watching Torquay, and they'd scored, and she was jumping up and down, and she obviously forgot to put a bra on. And you cut back to you, and you just said, "Great support." And I just remember absolutely howling, and I told everyone about that. And it was one of those ones where you didn't have to see it; you could actually tell it, and people would piss themselves laughing. So I dined out on that for a bit.
What's the matter? Helen was so much fun, and Helen just used to join in with the jokes. She loved it all. She thought
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
she used to take the mickey out of the girls just as much as we did, but always everything was always nice and
Of
charming,
course it was. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
comedy we were trying to do was we were trying to quietly take the mick out of, lad culture and, uh, gently take the mick out of it and gently take the mick out of the fact that live TV had come along and they were just putting nude people on TV constantly. Do you remember that? Live TV, they like naked darts and stuff like that. So we did naked weather. You went outside to see the naked weather. It was a man with a shirt off, which just really amused me that everyone would go, "I can't believe they're gonna do this." Topless weather, sorry. Topless
Yeah.
weather, they're gonna do that, and it was a bloke with his top off, and it just, that was a one-off joke which lasted, I don't know, probably 9 years, 10 years. It was
It
just,
it was like
all up.
Tiz was. It reminded me very much of Tiz. Did you ever watch Tiz was when you
Yeah,
were?
yeah,
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 it
yeah.
was it was superb. And you had every footballer in the land queuing up to appear in it, or did you? Were there people who were scared to come on because it was potentially a little bit too anarchic?
No, 'cause we joke with the first year or so, the first season, for the first half of the first season, I used to take the mickey out of the players, and a comedy where you're taking the mickey out of them is easy comedy. I used to say this and I go, "Negative comedy is so easy. Rubbish, that's crap, and there's a lot of comedians making a lot of money out of that, but it's a lot harder to
Yeah.
do positive comedy. And I remember going out one night and I'd taken the mickey out of a player. I went, "Oh, look at this. It's an England shirt with so and so's name on the back." I did something like that. And then I went, "That must be some terrible mistake." And everyone laughed and da 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 da. And I went out that night I sort of younger, so I used to go to these cool do places and there was some footballers in there. And the guy I'd taken the mickey out of came up and he went, "I'm gonna smash you later. You're gonna get such a kicking." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa." And then I sat and I went away with my beer and he was really like on edge. And I went, "Oh God, I've got to apologize to him." So I walked up to him. I said, "I am so sorry. I just feel terrible." And he goes, "No, no, no, I shouldn't have reacted like that." He goes, "It's just my wife's watching, my kids are watching, my parents are watching, everyone watches your show. You're taking the mickey out of me. I'm going through a hard time at the moment with my club football. I'm just not scoring at the moment, blah, 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 blah." And he goes, "You're just adding more pressure onto me." And I suddenly realized that behind every joke,
Yeah,
there's a human.
yeah,
And so if you're taking the mickey, and I have it, lots of people take the mickey out of me or write horrible things about me, but there's a human at the end of it, and that human is probably quite a nice human. There's very few evil humans I've come across yet. So, so when you are one of those comics and you're hammering, hammering, hammering every single one, you got to realize that those people are humans and they've got
yeah,
the and they feel everyone's laughing at them. So we
yeah,
stopped and we joked with them instead. So players used to love coming on because it was friendly jokes with them, and they were
yeah,
always part of it. And
yeah,
everyone, the amount of stuff it was sort of started to become the birth of the sort of people being able to send in little videos and stuff. And
yeah. It did. Yeah, it did. God, you're right. Actually, yeah,
also, it's the birth of us seeing footballers, people taking pictures of footballers out and stuff, and they'd send them into the show, and we would never put them on because I thought, you don't want to be a footballer sitting there. Your manager sees that you've been out, and suddenly you're dropped from the team. So we always looked after and protected the footballers. So, but we started doing all the viral videos as well, which is really good fun.
I remember the self-deprecation. You were you ripped, excuse me, ripped the shit out of yourselves constantly. That was
Yeah.
the atmosphere, and that's one of the reasons why I think it really, really worked because you were able to laugh at yourselves. Just, we were talking.
And a lot of TV presenters were quite precious, and they didn't want everyone to take the mick out of them. I used to encourage it, and I used to get hammered. I remember when Furness was being the stand-up comic. He does the rounds every now and then. He did like a minute just taking me down. Even your mum hates you. Oh, I loved it because it's like because I didn't think you were seeing that. I didn't think you were seeing celebrities having, being absolutely taken apart by people on my own show,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah, of course.
loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was funny.
As humor or comedy, you're talking about the footballer who was having a difficult time. As humor or comedy, has it ever helped you through a difficult time at all?
Yeah, I'm a boring celebrity who's had depression. Not that depression's boring for people. It's quite horrific. But I've had quite bad depression a couple of times, and do find that when you. By the way, I'm okay now, and I read
Good.
my way out of it. So I recommend to anybody who who uh, who has depression, start reading philosophy. There's a lot of wise people out there who can try and explain what you are. But reading's a really, really good thing. Whilst you're in a book, you're not
Yeah.
you're not thinking
I
about
think
it. And
talking and reading, I think the
talking and
two.
reading, yeah, but
Yeah.
reading's really good because if you read you've got great philosophers and things like that. And
Yeah.
I started with self-help books, and then I moved on to philosophers and stuff, and it's really good. There were wise people thousands of years ago, but
Yeah. Yeah.
there's some new people too. But you would always love it if you could find a sitcom or something that can just take you away from it. And also, my brother died. That was like one of the bits where my first depression started,
Yeah.
sort of around that time. So finding various ones in my more modern depression, I'd found Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and there's, I don't know, 16 series of that now. And whenever I'm feeling, do you know Sunny?
No, I
Always Sunny.
don't. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
So that's possibly one of my favorite. It's my favorite American sitcom. It's an
Yeah.
anti-sitcom, and I quite
Right.
like those things. So as the story goes, they were watching Friends, going, "Well, why is everyone so pretty and nice and living in this house?" And every series they're getting prettier and so they absolutely went the other way. They're the most disgusting, horrible, nasty characters. And it's written by the people in it. They
Yeah.
made it themselves. They got the second series. They were about to be cancelled and said, unless you can get yourself a celebrity. They asked Danny DeVito's daughter watched the show and said, "Dad, do it." So Danny DeVito's in
Oh,
it.
I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. Yeah.
It is the riskiest, funniest stuff I've ever. And it's my thing. It's like whenever I'm feeling down, I go and do it. They're so horrible. There's not one likable thing about any of them, and I love them, even Rob McElhenney, who owns Wrexham now. He's in
Yeah.
it,
Oh, right.
and
Okay.
yeah, so it's his thing with the other guy. He's married to Dee in it, the woman who's brilliant. And like there's a character in it called the waitress. They've never learned her name. They just call her the waitress, even though she's a waitress years and years ago. And they will only ever call her the waitress. And it's just everything about it is so funny. And just Rob McElhenney, one series just to reject modern soap where you get paid £1 million an episode and get
Yeah. Yeah.
really nothing against Friends, by the way. It's just different. He put on a ridiculous amount of weight, so he becomes absolutely obese in it. Like not obese, but like really, he must have put on 3 or 4 stone just for series, just to go the other way from what Friends would do. Apparently,
Wow.
that's how it happened. So and
Flipping
then
heck.
then the next series he gets himself absolutely ripped. I mean, it is the honestly, if you haven't watched Always, anyone you meet who watches Sunny, like, it's you're locked in for an hour going, "What about that episode? What about that episode?" I mean, they're horrible people, and that's what's so funny
So
about
two
it.
two things: Sunny and Give Blood. They're the
Yeah,
two. The
yeah.
two take home. Yeah. Give Blood and watch Sunny.
I
Yeah.
sort of don't like telling people to watch Sunny, though, because, A, it's quite vulgar, but B, it's my thing.
Yeah.
At a good restaurant or bar or something, or you
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
something to go on holiday. You don't wanna tell
Yeah.
everyone because you want everyone else to go there. You want to.
We can always bleep it out. We can bleep out the name of the sitcom. Don't worry. Don't worry. But
No, but
there's
Sunny, I recommend it. Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
and let's talk about 15 Stories High, which is something you reminded me of. I'd watched a couple of episodes when we chatted, and you mentioned that. Sean Locke, a sitcom that I think it came from something on the radio, didn't it? Originally, it was an offshoot of.
Literally no idea.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure.
One evening I was either flicking around or I'd heard about it or something. I put 15 Stories High on, and I thought this has got to be the best sitcom Britain's ever made. And and it is. It is. I mean, it's just the writing on it is if you like Sean Locke, if you're one of those people who've watched all the clips going around on TikTok, you go to that man who does all those amazingly funny sketches and routines, with the challenging comment and all that. You see it, and then you give that man a sitcom. What you
Yeah,
end up with is utter brilliance. And
yeah.
every now and then, that's one of those other ones that I'll sit and do you know what? I watched The Plough the other day. One of my mates had taken something home from the pub, and gone, "Oh God, I feel so bad. I've stolen this from the pub." And he was in Norway, by the way, not not in Britain. Oh, no, it wasn't him, sorry, it was his mate. He was like, "Look," he took a picture of it, and I said, Just go and watch the episode of The Plough, because Sean Lock takes a plough home from the pub, and obviously, he's this Emmanuel Plough, so he's gone all through the cemetery, all through that sort of stuff, and it's just he's finding them up and saying to him, "Oh, no, I've got your plough." He goes, "I didn't steal it. I was just drunk. I was just having a laugh," like that. Everything about it is just, I mean, watch The Plough, because it is just one of the great things, and in between it, there's all these mini sketches. So there's one where Peter Serafinovich is, the, manager of a band,
Yeah, he's trying to put a boy band together. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. It's but
"You're cute, you're gonna always be holding the kitten," and he was going through these 4 lads, and then he keeps firing them, keeps dropping in and out, and there's another one where a bloke's got a horse in the flats.
I was watching Perry Benson. Perry Benson has a horse in his flat, and yeah, yeah, because he's been. Anyways, it's one of that is one of those ones where you try and describe it, and you just if you've never seen it, you're just like what. But we the first episode or the second episode that we was talking to producer Stuart about before, where because the central character Sean Locke hates being touched, he can't be touched, and then you eventually find out why, and it was because when he was a kid, he'd applied to go on Jimmy Savile, Jim'll Fix It, and he'd gone to meet the Wombles, and what was it? Tomsk came out, fell on top of him. The other Wombles thought it was a joke, so they all piled onto him, and he was at the bottom of a Womble mountain, as he described it. And then from then on, he couldn't be touched. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it's about. But yeah, I mean, God bless Sean Locke.
In it, he's a swimming instructor,
Yeah,
and do you
yeah.
remember he starts teaching this woman who's, like a soft porn star, like a he goes, "Are you sort of like" I'm making the name up because I can't remember now, so I was like, "Are you Jane, 33 I don't know, Essex?" And she goes, "Yeah. Do you recognise me?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I just always wondered that picture you do in the kitchen, where you're on the table, yeah?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah. Where'd you get the, blinds from?" So brilliant. It's so, so, so
Yeah.
brilliant.
It's it's if anybody wants to, it's all on YouTube. It's all on YouTube. All two, both series are on YouTube.
I spoke to we were talking about commissioning editors. I think did he do 2 series, yeah?
Yeah, yeah,
But I I talked to Sean Locke about it, and Sean Locke hadn't come on my show for years and years, and then eventually he came on, and I think I might have annoyed him a bit because I was so over the top about it. I just kept quoting bits of him, going, "Sean, it was the best thing, and this and this and this." I'm a big, yeah, I was a massive Sean Locke fan because his comedy is hysterical.
yeah.
When
It
he
is.
talks about going to America and trying to save the what do you call it, the environment, and climate change. And he says he goes and sees all these big, big guzzling cars, and and he's cleaning out a Marmite jar. "Oh, need to recycle this." He says it's like setting up a aftermath of volcano with a dustpan and brush going, "Can I help?" Can I just his brain is just brilliant, but I kept talking to him about it, and he told me that he was a bit annoyed because they'd sort of put it on at a time and then kept moving it around the schedule.
Yeah, yeah,
No one quite had enough time. Like, someone like me was tuned in and saw it and loved it, so was watching it all the time, but I don't think, and I think, by then we had the ability to tape stuff out
yeah.
on a disc, so it wasn't like putting a VHS in.
Sure.
So I think I had the ability to tape it and watch it, but or, whatever it is called in those days, but yeah, so I feel a bit sorry for him because it is absolutely a work of genius.
It is.
It's so Amazing.
Did you ever see him roast? They did a roast for Bruce Forsyth when he got up and did a and roasted Bruce Forsyth. Basically took the piss out of him for 5 minutes. It's just fantastic. He's like, he's all right if you like tap dancing, which I don't. It's that sort of thing, and honestly, it's brilliant. It's I'll send it to you. It's on YouTube. But Sean Locke roasting, and Bruce is loving it, sitting there with his wife, wetting himself. It's 5 minutes of genius.
Are you into Norm Macdonald?
Yes,
The American guy, because
yeah,
he does a roast. I can't remember who he's roasting, but he turns up to do a roast and decides not to do any roasting gags. He just decides to do just crap gags, and everybody's finding the hardest part. That I was listening to Conan talk about it and said he would do stuff. He would literally do clubs and not want people to walk out because he was that sort of that type of person. He just loved the experience of being on stage and dying as well
yeah.
as being. But his two
Wow.
sketches, the one about the World War, Germany and the
Yeah,
World
yeah.
War, Germany decided to have a war against the whole world. That and the moon landing, where he talks of. Have you heard of one about the moon landing? He
No.
talks about Michael Collins being left inside the inside with while all the others are out walking on the moon, and they get back and they're going, "Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that good. I mean, it goes all the way up there." And Michael Collins, you get left in the thing while Buzz and Armstrong are walking around playing golf on the moon. Thing where he says he's looking through the window, going, "Are they playing golf now?"
So, Desert Island Discs time. I do this every week. So you've got to take a sitcom with you, and you've got to take a funny famous person and a funny non-famous person to the moon. Actually, sort of not a desert island, back to the moon with Mr. Collins. What are you taking?
Oh, I mean, this is so hard. My favorite sitcom. Well, my
What's the
favorite.
one that you can watch on a loop? So if you're going to be there forever, it's something that you got to be able to keep on. I have ever
Well,
decreasing circles. I can go back to that.
I very rarely watch things more than once. It doesn't really appeal to me. But I've watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia, probably 3 to 4 times. And bearing in mind there's 16 series, and I
Yeah.
think they made them of 20. I think that's a lot of.
It's a lot. I think it's got to be that, hasn't it? It's got to be that.
Yeah, a lot, a
Yeah.
lot, a lot of Sunny I watch. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So famous funny person, funny famous person.
Did have to be funny? I see this is so hard because I do so many. It's like I remember, Kyle Smith Bino coming on. Do you know him for the actor in Ghosts? I mean,
Which
look,
one?
the man in Ghosts. There's the
No, which
man, well,
one?
no,
It's
or the couple, the man who's married
all right.
to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So Kyle comes on the show. He was also in ways that he'd been in loads of things actually, and he comes on the show, and I'm watching him, and I'm thinking he's an actor. And I'm thinking, "This guy's really funny," and it's like he was on the show, and then you just see someone being, like, just a different brain working
yeah.
and clever and quick. Turns out he's been running an improv night for for
Oh,
years.
really?
He's so funny. He's like Bob. It's kinda left field. It's like you don't see it coming. It's not like me, Route 1. It's like he's just very clever. Or someone like, Catherine Parkinson.
Yeah,
I mean, when she comes on the show, she is just so funny.
yeah,
And it's sometimes the ones who aren't doing the stand-ups that are the ones that absolutely get me because I just don't know where they're coming from, where
yeah.
where the juicy come. Because I always look at it from a TV presenter's perspective, who's gonna entertain the viewers this week and people like that. One person I've got to take with me, what the funniest is it dead and or alive or
Either.
I just don't know. Who would you take?
No, well, famous person. I'd probably take. I was thinking about this the other day. I wouldn't take Eric Morecambe because Eric Morecambe's never off. He's constantly. You need some respite. You could imagine walking along the beach and he'd be walking behind you, just riffing constantly. Be like, just leave me alone. Um, Probably Kenny Everett because I'm a big, huge Everett fan. I love radio, and I think he was quite a private person, so he'd piss off, um, when you fancied a break, and then he'd come back and make you laugh and tell you, jokes like I'm a member.
He's
Yes,
the
I
yeah,
remember.
which I stole off him. I can't believe it. You've horrified me with that. I really have, because in my mind,
I think it's brilliant. It's
it is.
wonderful because
It's a great.
jokes are public property. They're there to be shared and distributed, and
Yeah, but now I know I probably knew that, and that's why we did it. It's
you might not have, because it's quite. You might not have. It could be original to you.
I really think I probably did. Now, I the first time I saw a famous person was Kenny Everett. My parents were driving me up to the West End to do something. I don't know, like go and see something or
Yeah,
visit something. And then, as we pulled up on, sort of up near, I don't know, Holland Parkish, round that way, so a bit further up. I looked over and there was Kenny Everett sitting in the back of a Rolls Royce.
oh,
I was like, "Wow,"
wow.
and then I always think I might have made that up, but I just remember it so vividly. When you're so old, you think you might have made stuff up. I'm gonna go back to your question. I'm gonna go Bob Mortimer, and I'll
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
you is because when you watch, I've spent quite a lot of time with Bob Mortimer because he's been on the show so many times, and when you watch, um, Go Fishing or Gone Fishing, sorry, with Paul Whitehouse, when you see those 2 together talking, you do see that they're just it's gonna be nice, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be uplifting, and you're gonna have a good time with those 2. So Bob's gonna be he's inquisitive. He's gonna be asking you questions and then saying surreal stuff to you. So I think that's good. Actually, I went to the premiere of that. They had a premiere night of that, and I remember going in, watching it, and then going to the after show bit, watching it, thinking this is absolutely brilliant. Then they did a chat with Charlie Higson interviewing them, which was fantastic. And I went back and I said, "Oh, hi guys," and they were standing together, and both Bob and Paul went, "Hey, hi Tim," and it's like the time Glenn Hoddle and Kevin Keegan said hi Tim to me. Oh,
Yeah,
Ray Wilkins. The fact they know your name.
yeah, yeah,
How did these guys know? And they're legends. How are they like Paul Whitehouse going hi Tim? It's just incredible.
I'll tell you what. You can take two. You can take Paul and Bob.
That would be
There you
amazing.
go. Yeah, there
Would
you
be
go.
amazing.
There you
Can
go.
I can I tell you a quick story if we
Of
run
course
out
you
of
go.
time?
Yes, please, please. Yeah.
When I was working on The Big Breakfast, I was in the house and Paul Whitehouse was on the show, and there was Zig and Zag and all that sort of stuff. We were in the house, and Paul Whitehouse was, I think he might have been Cheggers at the time, was there as well. He was
Oh,
definitely in the show at times, and Paul Whitehouse was running around going, "This is amazing! This is amazing!" You can see him watching it all play out live, and his enthusiasm. I just remember sitting there and he would just wanted to join in and have fun, and his enthusiasm, and he was watching, and I think they made him do Smashy and Nicey
yeah,
on
yeah,
the on it, and he was messing about doing that as well, and it's like I was just watching him thinking that is why these guys are great. Their enthusiasm for noticing. That's all I could see him doing is
yeah,
noticing, going, "That's a character. There's a character. There's a character." And I love and then years later I'm interviewing him and I can't believe it. It's like a
yeah.
dream come true.
That's brilliant. The only reason I've let you have both of them is because you give blood. So,
Oh, okay, that's
so
good.
there's an advert. If you want to take Paul Whitehouse and Bob Mortimer to the moon, give
Yeah,
blood. Give
yeah,
blood.
yeah.
But Tim, thank you very, very much indeed. That's been an incredible hour. Really enjoyable. So, no, thank you for being with us.
Pleasure. I enjoyed
Thanks.
it.
All the best.